¡Policía, orden de registro! ¡Policía, fuera! ¡Policía, orden de registro!
Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! What the fuck is wrong with you, asshole?
Make no mistake, this jury determined he was a corrupt federal agent and he violated his oath and duties to protect those that he should have been investigating and arresting.
ICE and FBI agents kicked in the door of a stash house in Washington, slapped cuffs on a Mexican cartel boss, and seized $155,000 in dirty cash. But what they uncovered inside was far more disturbing. 20 pounds of cocaine, 15 pounds of crystal meth, a stockpile of weapons, hidden in a quiet American suburb, while the profits were already en route to Mexico. This operation had the potential to devastate communities across the entire Puget Sound region, and the timing was chilling. Less than 24 hours before ICE shut the ring down, a veteran DEA agent was sentenced for betraying his oath, leaking intelligence and protecting traffickers for nearly 2 decades.
He created false DEA reports. He filed false confidential source records. And he falsely opened files.
He wasn't an isolated case. He was just one of 17 federal agents hit with corruption charges over the last decade. That reality explains why the cartels moved as if they were untouchable. While ICE was trying to lock the doors, compromised agents were quietly opening the windows. On January 22, 2026, Homeland Security Investigations launched a massive raid in Marysville, Washington, ripping the lid off one of the most disturbing trafficking operations in the Pacific Northwest. The case began in the summer of 2025. ICE operatives stayed in the shadows for months, tracking movements, monitoring calls, and mapping every connection. They teamed up with Border Patrol units who knew the smuggling routes, coordinated with the DEA, and brought in the FBI to deliver federal racketeering charges. At the center of it all was Luis Donaldo Galana Garcia, a 29-year-old Mexican national running the operation from the quiet, unsuspecting streets of Marysville. To neighbors, he likely looked like just another guy next door. But to federal prosecutors, Garcia was the architect of an international pipeline flooding western Washington with massive shipments of cocaine and meth. By late September 2025, investigators had grasped the terrifying scale of his operation: 20 pounds of cocaine, 15 pounds of crystal meth, and more than $155,000 in cash, all destined for cartel leadership south of the border. Garcia wasn't working alone. He had built a tightly woven network of associates, strategically placed across western Washington, each one playing a role in keeping the pipeline flowing. When ICE teams breached his Marysville residence with federal warrants in hand, the scene inside that quiet suburban home was chilling. What they found laid bare the militarized, violent reality of cartel cells operating on U.S. soil, out in the open, hiding in plain sight. They felt secure, maybe even invincible. For years they believed the fix was in, that corrupt insiders were watching their backs. Just one day before Garcia's empire collapsed, a very different kind of criminal stood before a judge in a Buffalo courtroom. Joseph Bongiovanni, a former DEA agent. 20 years on the job, and 20 years of rot. His betrayal helped flood American streets with the very poison ICE agents risked their lives to stop.
Former DEA agent Joseph Bongiovanni could spend up to 20 years in federal prison after a jury convicted him today on 7 of the 11 charges against.
2008, Bongiovanni sat on intelligence about a smuggling ring that would eventually grow into a massive beast, its tentacles stretching from California to Vancouver to New York City. He had the power to crush it in the cradle. Instead, he became its guardian angel.
That is the crux of what he was convicted of today. Make no mistake, this jury determined he was a corrupt federal agent and he violated his oath and duties to protect those that he should have been investigating and arresting.
Bongiovanni didn't just look the other way, he actively worked to protect criminals. He filed bogus reports to mislead investigators and stole classified files that should have led to arrests. He burned 3 confidential informants, fully aware of the brutal fate that awaits anyone labeled a snitch. He helped a mob-connected schoolteacher, Michael Masisha, move marijuana, cocaine, and fentanyl across the Northeast. He ran interference for Peter Gerace Jr., a strip club owner tied to both the Buffalo Mafia and the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, allowing a drug ring to operate unchecked. One witness later said the system tried to silence him, locking him up, cutting off access to lawyers, and threatening him again once he started speaking publicly. And it gets even uglier. Prosecutors proved that Bongiovanni instructed his own squad to back off Italian suspects and instead focus enforcement on Black and Hispanic neighborhoods. Despite 2 decades of corruption, U.S. District Judge Lawrence Villardo sentenced Bongiovanni to just 5 years in federal prison. 5 years? For 20 years of betrayal. For 20 years of helping traffickers poison countless communities. Meanwhile, Garcia's crew faces a mandatory minimum of 10 years for the weight of a single shipment. Street-level dealers often get double the time of the federal agent who enabled entire trafficking networks. Bongiovanni isn't just a bad apple. He's a symptom of a much deeper disease. He is one of at least 17 DEA agents charged with federal corruption crimes in just the last decade. 17 badges that could have dismantled major cartel pipelines, but instead tipped off traffickers, blocked seizures, warned kingpins before raids, and left informants to face torture and death after being sold out. They traded lives and justice for cartel cash. Just weeks before Bongiovanni was sentenced, federal prosecutors charged another former DEA agent, Paul Camac, with plotting to launder millions in drug money and acquire military-grade weapons for a Mexican cartel. This is the nightmare IC faces every day. They're not just fighting ruthless foreign cartels, they're battling systemic rot inside their own government, corruption that sabotages operations from the inside out. DEA leadership tried to spin Bongiovanni's sentencing as a victory, claiming it proved that badge betrayers would face justice. But the truth is unavoidable. 5 years is a slap on the wrist for a man who facilitated mass death for 2 decades. And that reality is exactly why the current administration has shifted to a zero-tolerance strategy, targeting not just the cartels, but the corruption that feeds them. Under this new approach, DHS has removed hundreds of thousands of criminal aliens, arrested thousands of gang members, and dismantled major cartel networks operating inside the United States. Just months before Garcia was taken down, federal authorities crushed another advanced Sinaloa cartel cell operating in Washington state. Using tractor-trailers, the Camargo-Banuelos brothers moved massive quantities of drugs from the border up the west coast. When agents moved in, the scale was staggering. Meth, fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, firearms, and hundreds of thousands of dollars headed straight back to Mexico. DEA officials later revealed the most chilling detail of all. The fentanyl seized in that single case represented millions of potentially lethal doses, enough to wipe out entire metropolitan areas. Both cartel rings were dismantled under the Homeland Security Task Force created by executive order to defend the nation, finally recognizing what this truly is: an invasion. So here's the question Americans need to ask. Why does a corrupt federal agent who enables cartels get 5 years, while traffickers and street dealers face decades? Should badge betrayers face harsher penalties than the criminals they protect? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to see more real footage of ICE dismantling these networks, one raid at a time.